Good afternoon, I'm Shane Masters with the Midday News. A special welcome to viewers on onespotmedia.com. After years of complaints about the poor state of public health facilities across the island, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is promising major improvements. He was speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony for the Western Children's Hospital in Montego Bay, St. James on Wednesday. Details in this report.
In July, a rat infestation on Ward 3 of the Spanish Town Hospital in St. Catherine caused concerns, particularly for patients. While on the western end of the island, persons were falling ill at the Cornwall Regional Hospital in St. James due to poor air quality issues. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says a $100 million financing agreement will help improve working conditions at the island's health facilities. The government and the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, signed the agreement last November. Dr. Tufton says $50 million will be used to carry out work on the health facilities over the next 3 to 5 years.
Based on the commitments over the next 3 to 5 years, the Bustamante Hospital for Children will see some $166 million expenditure so we can upgrade and expand for pediatric care in Kingston. The Spanish Town Hospital will be upgraded to the tune of some $3.1 billion. And that is not a promise, this is a commitment with monies already available. In fact, we're going to market for the designs to begin this year. St. Anne's Bay Hospital, $463 million. Maypen Hospital, $238 million. Kingston Public Hospital, a projection of some $2.3 billion. Cornwall Regional Hospital will see an expenditure of some $3.5 billion.
He also noted that about 10 health centers island-wide will be upgraded at a cost of $1.8 billion over the next 2 to 3 years. Another major improvement, the digitization of hospital records.
Under the IDB window, we have some $8 million or certainly over $1 billion Jamaican dollars for health information systems, which we are now preparing the documentation to go to market for, which will begin before the end of this financial year.
Prince Moore, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who was also speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony, described the new facility as a major step forward. Mr. Holness empathized with citizens in St. James who have been complaining about the displacement caused by the refurbishing of the Cornwall Regional Hospital. He also appealed for patience as the construction of a new Western Children and Adolescent Hospital takes place.
If it were within my capacity to snap my finger and let this building appear, I would be the first to do it. But there is just a practical consideration. It will take between 16 months to 24 months to build the facility. So while that is no comfort in your son's suffering, but others who have similar situation, parents with young children, can take comfort to know that we are going to get it done.
The 5 people who were yesterday shot and injured on Deanery Road in St. Andrew are still in stable condition in hospital. A pregnant woman and her child are among the injured. They were shot during an attack at a medical facility. 42-year-old Clifton Brown of Jakes Avenue off Mountain View Avenue was killed in the incident. It was reported that about 10 a.m. a man entered the doctor's office and shot Mr. Brown before escaping. Mr. Brown was an area leader in the Jakes Road community. Following reports of an increase in suspected cases of dengue in St. Anne, the Northeast Regional Health Authority have provided additional resources. Recently, 3 vector control buses were handed over to the St. Anne Public Health Department at a value of $21.7 million. Regional Director of the Northeast Regional Authority, Fabia Lam, says the buses will allow for fogging in more communities than what currently occurs.
In each vehicle we have mounted an ultra-low volume fogging machine. The intent is that it will be a permanent fixture in the vehicles, so I don't expect any parishes to be lifting them out and loading up the back with cement and with stone and gravel or with workers, which is not supposed to be happening. The intent is to utilize these vehicles on your fogging schedules.
The police are now searching for the taxi driver involved in an incident yesterday which injured 2 pedestrians in St. Andrew. The driver has been identified as George Malcolm and he has been asked to turn himself into the police immediately. It's understood that he was fined earlier this year for careless driving. The details in this report. Okay, the police are yet to nab the driver of a taxi which mowed down a man and a woman in Halfway Tree, St. Andrew on Wednesday afternoon. The incident was captured by a CCTV camera outside an establishment on Eastwood Park Road. The video shows pedestrians walking along the sidewalk, going about their usual business, and the traffic slowing to a crawl. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, the white Toyota Probox was seen speeding, heading towards the sidewalk before hitting the 2 pedestrians. However, for broadcasting regulation reasons, we are unable to show the moment of impact. It's understood that the taxi driver fled the scene, leaving the vehicle behind. The extent of the injuries sustained by the pedestrians could not be ascertained. A probe is now underway into the incident. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips is expressing outrage at comments made by the government that it will not be responding to corruption allegations. Speaking with our news team recently, Dr. Phillips described the action as gross dereliction of duty.
Any comment by Mr. Spencer that they are not going to answer about the theft of public resources is a gross dereliction of the duties of any responsible government. And to raise this old bogey about traffic bureau is absolute nonsense. If Mr. Spencer would take the time to read the judgment of the courts in Jamaica, they made it clear that no laws of Jamaica were breached in the traffic bureau matter.
Local information technology company Jamaica Vision Enterprises is lashing out at the government as a contract it has with eLearning Jamaica is about to be terminated. The 11-year-old company was contracted to provide thousands of tablets for students under the Tablets in Schools program. However, the technology ministry issued a notice of termination citing failure to deliver. Geotech's management has refuted the claim, saying it has been awaiting delivery instructions from eLearning. At a press briefing on Wednesday, Geotech Vision's ICT manager, Stephen Wedderburn, questioned the government's commitment to SMEs. And we do apologize for that clip. And it's time for a break, but stay with us. More stories right after these messages. Welcome back, continuing the news. There are concerns this afternoon that some of the Vision 2030 development goals set by the Jamaican government may not be met on time. Questions were raised at this week's Public Accounts Committee meeting following a report from the Auditor General's Department about inadequacies at the Statistical Institute Statin, which heads the committee monitoring the country's progress in meeting the targets. Statin noted that a major challenge is in getting funding to carry out its work.
We are now designated an upper middle income country, and as such our access to financing for survey and data production is much less than it used to be. So what that now has put in focus is that the government of Jamaica now has to fund these data collection activities. And of course, there's always the trade-off in terms of how do we allocate the very scarce resources and what is the best way to spend the resources that we have as a country.
The Deputy Director General also noted that work is being done to address the problem of how data is collected and stored.
There is the challenge of the fact that a lot of the administrative data that we have is paper-based. And some of these indicators come from administrative data sources. So there's the need to modernize the public service, to digitize some of the information, to give us greater access to data. So these are some of the challenges that we have been facing, but we have been working with our partners through the development of the National Statistics System to try and improve the availability of data for decision making and to monitor our progress towards the goals.
In news from the region, 18 Venezuelan nationals, including 3 children, were detained by police trying to enter into Trinidad and Tobago illegally by boat Wednesday morning. Investigators say the Venezuelans were held near the Smith Hill area in Carnegie around 5:35 a.m. Representatives from the Western Division intercepted the vessel and detained the migrants. 9 males and 6 females were among those detained. Police have since called in immigration officials who are expected to question the Venezuelan nationals. Sources say they are expected to be deported soon. In sports, the Intersecondary School Sports Association, ISA, is adamant that no professional will be allowed to play school sports. The issue came to the fore after Clarendon College star player Lamar Walker was belatedly ruled ineligible to help his school defend their DaCosta Cup title. Karen Madden has this report.
Following an inquiry from Clarendon College, the governing body for school sports gave permission for Walker to play at the start of the DaCosta Cup season after their checks did not reveal the existence of a professional contract. But speaking on Hits 92 FM's Girls Sports Club on Wednesday, ISA President Keith Wellington revealed that another school protested Walker's participation, insisting that he was a professional. Wellington said that prompted the association to conduct another investigation.
The responses that we got indicated that the person was indeed a professional player signed with a signed contract and an affiliation, and his status was therefore, his amateur status was therefore revoked, and the school was communicated with that he would no longer be eligible to participate in our competition.
Wellington was asked whether ISA was obligated to provide proof of Walker's professional status.
No, we are not. And in this case, those who are familiar with legal wrangling would recognize that we have no right. ISA or no third party has the right to the contract of two other entities. So we could not. It would be legally impossible for us to provide a copy of a contract of which we are not a part of.
And with sports increasingly becoming an avenue of financial independence, Wellington, who is also principal of St. Elizabeth Technical, had advice for youngsters who are approached to sign pro contracts.
If you're lucky enough to be able to have a contract at age 18, it's a good start in life. I'm not saying that you should be running down one and you get one that may not be suitable. But if you are good enough and fortunate enough to be able to sign a contract at 18, I would say that you could continue your schooling. You could still remain, if you believe that you want to ensure that you complete your CAPE or your CSEC, then fine, go ahead. But competing against other youngsters who are amateurs is not going to be allowed by ISA.
Walker has already played one game this season for Clarendon College, but ISA will take no action against that result as he had been cleared to play. Karen Madden, TVJ Sports.
And that's the midday news. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for primetime news. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.